So we've established what the sinner's prayer is, which that's great and fantastic. But if I say the sinner's prayer now and I repeat after a leader for like the service or a pastor, does that mean I'm going to heaven? No sins are forgiven by just saying that prayer?
No. And yes. Now, I'm not trying to confuse you.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to turn around and say there's people who have said, everybody who said that prayer didn't receive salvation. I believe there's some who maybe have said it and did receive.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't put the change of a heart salvation in a box to say it's only the prayer that does it. That's why I say yes and no. Because some of the things is confessing are true. You got to ask God for forgiveness. You got to be forgiven of your sins. You do confess Jesus as your Lord. So that makes sense. But then to break it down to, if you just say those words like it's a magic formula, it will happen. That's where it's not biblical. The Bible doesn't teach that. And it almost turns it into a spell. So, because the real thing that's got to happen is internal.
Yeah.
The heart's got to change. The person's got to change. And just to think that can happen just by saying a few words would make our job as preachers easier. Because all we're doing is say this prayer and you're in. You know. And a lot of it's taken off because of TV evangelism and something we call easy believism. So that's when someone puts their hand up and the preacher on the telly says, say this prayer with me and you're in.
Yeah.
It sounds good, and hopefully there will be, but not necessarily. So that's why I say the concept of it makes sense because you got to confess and understand and believe certain things. But to lock it down to that's a formula and you are definitely saved because you've said the prayer is dangerous. And it becomes a form of legalism as well. It's like, you do this, you'll get in. It's another rule we put on there when there was no rule that was meant to be stipulated for it. Some people use Romans 10, 9 and 10, by the way, it talks about if you, with the heart, one believes and with the mouth another confesses, he confesses. But if you look at the context, that was written to believers. I've done some research. Some people say it was actually written to the unbelieving Jews. But whatever it was, the context of those verses was not about somebody being saved. And a lot of the verses used to say this is why we need, like, confess your sins one to another. Some people have used that to justify it. That's clearly Christians talking to a Christian. It's nothing to do with salvation. So a lot of it was taking verses out of context. So pray the prayer, it's fine. But don't think because you prayed the prayer you're definitely in. Christianity doesn't work like that. It's not formula. It's internal. Something's got to change, and we have to be careful how we share the whole thing about saying what we call the sinner's prayer.
Okay, cool.